now time to transition and give our final Oscar predictions for the 95th Academy Awards, which, of course, will be airing this upcoming Sunday on ABC Network. It's that time of year again. This is the fourth time we're going to be giving our predictions and just running down every single category, all 23 categories, and just giving our final thoughts on who's going to walk away with gold at this year's ceremony. We talked a lot about award season last week and just everything that's led up until this moment, this film award season, which has been shocking and exciting and unpredictable in a lot of different ways. And it's also quite possibly the most competitive award season we've seen in the last decade, at least, maybe even decade plus. And so going into Sunday, I just got to ask you, man, how do you feel? How did you feel about putting your predictions together? Did you feel confident about your picks? Were there super difficult choices that you had to make that you still feel, maybe a little bit iffy about? How are you just feeling about the whole landscape at this point?
It's still crazy. This is still a weird year, man, where we always had precursor awards to help us a little bit. We always had the BAFTAs and the SAGs and we just always had all these award shows to, I think, kind of line us up a little bit better to where the Academy, the way they might be voting. And we still don't have it. In fact, it even got more confusing. And every time they add an award show, it's like, yeah, no, I'm just as lost as I was the first time, man. It's really at any and everyone's game. It's such a bitter, sweet spot to be in, man, because I love the uncertainty of coming into these award shows. Again, in previous years, me and you have been putting our list together really since before the podcast, probably like 4 years now of predictions. And we have always been, again, I'm gonna throw a percent out there, but we've been like 85% accurate for the past couple of years for the most part. And this is just one of those years, man, where it's anybody's game. It can go any way because all the precursor award shows before it have gone any and each way. And so, a lot of the list that I'm giving today is a little bit off of still some of those award shows, but a lot of it is a little bit off a hunch. A lot of it is a little bit off of who I want to win. You know what I mean? It's a lot is way more mixed in this time than has been in previous years. And again, I think that's exciting, but still very scary at the same time.
Yeah, it's a crazy predicament to be in which the landscape just feels so all over the place, and it's almost anybody's game. And in a lot of these categories, it's not even just like a select few. It's quite a few of these categories where it's like, I don't even know. I don't know where that might go. I think that there's just like maybe about 3 or 4 categories where I'm like, yeah, that's going to happen. But for the most part, when you have 23 categories in total, it's just it's a really exciting place to be in where you just can't predict what's going to happen. And ultimately, when Oscar night does roll around this coming Sunday, I just hope for a great show overall. Of course, like first and foremost, I want to be entertained. I want to enjoy myself, but I do want to see some good winners come out of this, and hopefully some people that feel deserving of certain awards can walk away with their moment in the limelight. So let's dive in and go through all 23 categories. I will just start off and say, and I think it's safe to speak for both of us, we typically do this. Sometimes our winners are not always who we personally want to win. I just want to point that out. Sometimes it's utilizing the history of the Oscars, where we've seen trends go over the past couple of years, as you pointed out, where some of these other different awards and critics' bodies have leaned towards. So I just want to say that our final predictions don't always accurately represent my personal taste and what I personally want to win. But there will be some categories where that's the case, where I'm just like, you know what, forget it. This aligns perfectly. I just want this to win, and that's what I'm picking. But I just had to put that disclaimer out there. But let's start at the bottom of our list, and we're going to work our way again through all 23 categories. And start off with best visual effects. And so in this category, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and Top Gun: Maverick. Of course, all massive movies, all really big budget spectacles that have come out over the past year. And I'll start off with you, man. Do you have a solid pick for this one? Who would you go with on best visual effects?
I really do, man. I think they are going to go ahead and go with Avatar: The Way of Water here. Part of the reason every other movie except The Batman is going to get something, I think, in some form or fashion. I think if Avatar wins anything, it'll be this. And, I think for the right reasons. This movie is literally just it's all visual effects. And it does it tremendously. So that's my pick, man.
I'm agree. Avatar: The Way of Water, I think, is kind of a shoe-in for this particular category. It is it's so impressive just what James Cameron and his team were able to do. I mean, they spent literally like 5 years developing this technology to get it right, to get it perfect. And it
Mhm.
is one of the most gorgeous films we've ever seen. As you said, it's all visual effects. And so just the feat of being able to pull that off is super impressive. That's not to take anything away from everybody else on this list, but Avatar: The Way of Water, I mean, it pushes that particular medium forward in ways that other films just haven't been able to do up until this point. So I think it walks away with that trophy. Let's move on to best sound. In this category, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, Elvis, and Top Gun: Maverick. This one
Mhm.
is a little bit of a tougher category to pick. I think sometimes we see some of these technical movies sort of take the forefront. Like, yeah, there's one movie that's just going to walk away with a lot of these trophies. And that might be the same case here, but I don't always know. I kind of went back and forth between two picks, but ultimately my pick in this particular category is going to be All Quiet on the Western Front. I think that this one will walk away with
Mm.
the best sound category. I think spoiler alert, I think it's going to walk away with many of these technical awards, these below the line
Mhm.
categories, but best sound was kind of between this and Top Gun for me in the last two in which I was picking, but I'm going with All Quiet as the winner with this one.
Yeah, as of right now, I actually have Top Gun Maverick. I think this is because, like you said, All Quiet on Western Front is going to get some other things. I think this is one of the ways in which Top Gun is going to walk away with one of the technical awards. I always had a feeling it would get something technical, but I think if it gets anything, because visual effects, I think is going to Avatar. I think they're going to go ahead and give Top Gun Maverick the best sound award. I think there's other reasons it won't get other things and in this and that, but I think they're going to go ahead and give it.
I'd love for Top Gun Maverick to walk away with something. It was my favorite movie last year, and from a sound perspective, I mean the sound of those jets like whooshing through
Nuts.
the air and just everything that they had to achieve. I mean, it's really, really, really incredible, especially seeing it on the big screen. So I would be pleased if that ends up being the winner. Let's move on to best original score. In this category, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Babylon, The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and The Fablemans. This one was hard for me, but I will toss it to
Mhm.
you first. What do you have as your pick for best original score?
This one is a little bit more personal for me just because it's like the most memorable for me. I actually went with Babylon here. It feels when I remember the music of movies that I've seen out of these five, Babylon's the one that sticks out the most for me. It is one of those movies that I think does play on, I don't know if the senses is the right word, but it does play on everything together. And I think it just has more memorable music in the movie for me in particular. The one I would give to second is between All Quiet on Western Front, and I would even add Everything Everywhere All at Once as a third. Like, oh my God, option. Like, I can't believe this one. I really don't think it will, but I'm going with Babylon.
Yeah, Babylon does have some great music. I'm picking again All Quiet on the Western Front for this category. It didn't stick out as the most memorable, but I actually agree with you. I think Babylon's score was pretty effective and really impressive. Again, for some reason, All Quiet on the Western Front being nominated in so many categories just feels like there's kind of a unanimous almost. It feels like that there's a lot of unanimous energy. Like, yeah, it's not going to win Best Picture necessarily, but all
Yeah.
these other things that it achieved, it might just walk away with a lot. But I could be wrong. I know in 1917, a few years ago, was like the big war film, and it was nominated for a ton of awards as well, but didn't walk away with nearly the amount of trophies that I think
Hmm.
people suspected it to. So we could have some surprises in store for us. Let's move on to the next category, Best Original Song. So in this one, we have Applause from Tell It Like a Woman, Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick, Lift Me Up from Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Natu Natu from RRR, and This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm just gonna go and say I think it's gonna go to Natu Natu RRR. I'd love for Rihanna to get an Oscar. I'd love for Ryan Coogler to get an Oscar. Like that's my personal favorite. But Natu Natu
Hmm.
was a TikTok phenomenon. It went crazy when that movie came out. It's the only award that RRR got nominated for this year at the Academy Awards. It wasn't even submitted for Best International Feature, and so I think it has to walk away with something just because of like what that movie did and what it represents for the Tollywood industry and the fact that like that
Hmm.
song actually blew up and it's good, y'all. Natu Natu is actually a fucking
It's a
bop. Like
it's a
it's a
bop.
it's a great song, so I'm picking
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, same man. I think this is one of the easier picks of the night, especially Natu Natu. If you look at all the other songs, is like legit embedded in the movie. Like it's literally embedded in the movie as a whole musical everything. So I definitely think, it's gonna walk away with the award, man. Not much else to add.
Definitely. Let's move on to best production design. So in this category, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, Elvis, and The Fablemans. Who do you have? Best production design.
Man, this is another one of those ones I had to sit on for a little bit and just think about what was happening in production design. And as of right now, I'm giving it to Babylon right now because the sets are again more memorable, I think, than a lot of the other sets in production design here. What I will say is there is a world here for me in which they'll either give it to Elvis or they give it to All Quiet on the Western Front. But right now my pick is Babylon.
My pick is also Babylon. I think that the production design in this film is a part of the story. It's a part of the
Exactly.
fabric of everything that we see. The old Hollywood sets that they recreate, like that whole set piece, like every stage that they recreated or created in this movie like told a story. Like the opening party
Hmm.
sequence for the first like 25 minutes is its own thing. When they're shooting like seven movies at the same time out in the middle of the desert, it's a
Yep.
crazy sequence.
That's
Inside the
crazy.
theater, when Tobey Maguire comes in, like everything in this movie, it's gorgeous. I cannot wait to watch Babylon again because of the production design. I actually think it's a pretty clear favorite, but it would
Hmm.
not surprise me again, as you said, like All Quiet on the Western Front could have a leg up here just because of the depictions of violence and the brutality that they have to bring to life in the movie with
Hmm.
just everything. It's centered on World War I, and so there's a lot of realism that has to take place there. But I do think that Babylon, because it leans so much into old Hollywood and just everything that they had to go into the authentic recreation of that era, it'll walk away with that one. So I agree with you on that one. Let's move on to best makeup and hairstyling. So in this category, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, and The Whale. So in this one, I think it's an easy pick relatively. I'm gonna go with The Whale on this one. Brendan
Mm.
Fraser's transformation, in my opinion, was just profound. I do want to shout out everybody else here. Colin Farrell in The Batman and what he had to do with his makeup is just
Facts.
crazy. It's crazy. We cannot like let that go unspoken. I don't think he'll win, but the fact that they're nominated here is really great. There is a world in which Elvis could also come into front here, but I'm gonna pick
Mhm.
the whale just because of how much the makeup was really integral to the story of what we saw of Brendan Fraser's character in that movie.
I actually think they're going to give it to Elvis here. I really do. I think part of it is I don't think it'll win anything else. I think if it does walk away with something, actually, yeah, it has potential to win something else, but I don't think it'll win. I don't think it'll win anything else. I think the makeup and hairstyling of Elvis is probably one of my favorite parts of the movie. It's not a movie I like really fond over to, especially not to get all these nominations, but I really do like the makeup and hairstyling in the film. I think what they did with Austin Butler in this movie, as well as the supporting cast around him with makeup and hairstyling, man, I thought was tremendous. So I think I'm gonna go with Elvis here.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Butler is a really young man and he has to play Elvis for like 30 years of his life. They have to
Hmm.
take him from being like a younger, 21-year-old guy all the way up until, ultimately his death in his 50s, I believe Elvis was when he passed away. So you have to pull off a lot of different eras of Elvis that we have to see take place over the course of that movie. So definitely some really impressive stuff there. Let's move on to best costume design. In this category, we have Babylon, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Who do you have taking this category?
I have Ruthie Carter picking it up again, man. I will say with that pick, I am slightly worried for it because it has already won or Ruthie Carter already won for this exact category for Black Panther years ago. And the Academy is often an Academy of we've seen that before, or at least the world of Wakanda before. I personally think the costumes are different enough for her to just win again and for her to take it again. But yeah, that's what I have right now, man. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't take away the influence of the Mayan Aztec, sort of
Exactly.
implications of what it meant to bring in Talocan and Namor. That was all new. There was obviously a lot
Hmm.
of the familiar with Wakanda, but that's all new stuff that she essentially had to invent. And so I went back and forth on this one a lot, and I almost picked Ruthie Carter, but because of what you said, the fact that she has won, I would love
Hmm.
for her to win. She's my personal favorite, but I think that they're going to actually give it to Elvis on this one. Again, costumes are very, very important. to the
Yeah.
story of Elvis. That's a big flamboyant movie. I mean, Baz Luhrmann is just going for it, and the costumes match that aesthetic. It's really over the top and larger than life. And I do think that that's one of the elements of the movie for a film that doesn't really work for me in many respects. That's one of the elements of the movie where I'm like, damn,
Hmm.
that's pretty impressive stuff. You know, they're very accurate in their recreation of those different eras, but this is I think a particularly tight race because
Yeah.
Babylon could sneak in here too. You know, it's not completely out of the race, and so I think you have sort of a pick'em situation in which there could be really anybody's game when it comes to best costume design. So we'll have to see. But let's move on. Next category: best cinematography. So in this one we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar. And so in this one, I think it's All Quiet on the Western Front. I think that just considering the competition in a category that probably could have had some tougher competitors, I think that there's a few films here where I'm like, you looked great, but I don't know if I would have included you in the top five. Although things don't work out that way in terms of nominations, but I just think that when you have these particular movies in this category, it feels like All Quiet on the Western Front is just the
Hmm.
obvious favorite. I think every movie on this list looks tremendous, but when you just again speak about below the line stuff and All Quiet sort of having momentum technically from that standpoint, this feels like one that it'll walk away with.
I also think Batman and Avatar were disrespected here, but whatever.
Agreed.
Um, All Quiet on the Western Front is also my pick, man. Like you said, just one is going up against. All Quiet has all the momentum behind it. This is one of the ones where I'm like, nah, the award shows kind of do give us a little hint of where this is going as well. And again, just what it's up against, I think it also makes sense. I actually really love the way Bardo was shot. Again, not a movie that works completely for me, but there's some crazy stuff going on in Bardo that I really, really appreciate. So that would be like my, oh my God, All Quiet on the Western Front lost pick if it was to happen. But I too have All Quiet on the Western Front.
Agree for sure. Let's move on to best film editing. So in this category, we have The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick. So all impressive movies, all technical achievements, certainly. What do you have walking away? Best film editing.
Top Gun Maverick, man. I think they're going to take it here. I really do. It's something about one. Yeah, it's something about the editing of this film that's just it's just harder than all the other movies to me. Like you look at all the other movies, I will give I will say all these other movies I think are so well edited, like for sure, especially Everything Everywhere All at Once and Tar, I think are nuts to me when it comes to editing. But I think it's another task again when it comes to the way you have to put together a movie where they're in planes the entire time for me. And so I'm gonna go ahead and pick Top Gun Maverick here.
Yeah, and they're actually doing that stuff. They're actually flying jet planes in real life. It's really tremendous. That was my second pick. I
Mhm.
actually think Everything Everywhere All at Once wins this category. That is a
That's fair too.
movie that is
Hmm.
insane from an editing perspective,
For
where
sure.
it can easily become incomprehensible what's happening in that film. Like there's so much going on. It's a multiverse, interdimensional story where you could just lose yourself in it and just you wonder like, well, what is this even about anymore? Because you're talking
Hmm.
about other versions of yourself and in different timelines and the way that they edited that together. There's certain sequences in that movie where I haven't seen anything like that before. I think it tells a story through the creative usage of editing all throughout the movie, especially when it employs multiple, I guess variants is the way to put it, even though they don't technically use that terminology in that movie. Just the way that we look at other lives of our main characters. I mean, it tells such an incredible story through the editing. So I'm gonna say Everything Everywhere All at Once in that category. Let's move on to best live action short film. So in this category, we have An Irish Goodbye, Evilou, Les Pupil, Night Ride, and The Red Suitcase. So I have only watched two of these. I think only two of
Hmm.
these are available right now online or in some streaming capacity. Those were Night Ride and Les Pupil. I thought that they were fine. They were okay. They didn't really move me
Hmm.
that much. I am simply picking An Irish Goodbye because it's won elsewhere. I think it won at the BAFTAs recently. Feels
Yep.
like the favorite right now. I haven't seen it. I do want to check it out as something to to sort of watch and say that I got a chance to watch that before Sunday. I don't know if we'll get the chance to if it'll be available, but that's the one I'm picking in this category.
Yeah, I think this is close to the only category I haven't seen anything. And I just went with the Baptist. I went with the energy and what I was hearing on the internet. Irish Goodbye is like I have heard of Le Pupa and I have heard of the Red Suitcase, but Irish Goodbye is the one I know that was it was just winning in getting eyes. So that's what I'm going with.
Definitely. Next category is best documentary short, and so here we have The Elephant Whisperers, Haul Out, How Do You Measure a Year, the Martha Mitchell Effect, and Stranger at the Gate. A number of these are actually streaming right now. A couple of them are on Netflix. There's some YouTube
Mhm.
availability with a few of these shorts. But what are you picking in this category?
Man, I've actually seen the Elephant Whispers. It's great. You should watch it. It's like 42 minutes or something like that. Yeah, it's the only one I've watched. But again, because I haven't seen the other ones, I do research, man, figure out what it feels like out there. And right now, it feels like the Martha Mitchell effect might take it. So that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I've seen a few. Actually, I've seen all of these except one. I have not seen How Do You Measure a Year. I've seen Elephant Whisperers, Haul Out, Martha Mitchell Effect, and Stranger at the Gate. By the way, Stranger at the Gate, I will just say, I it ain't for me. It is a story of a man who was thinking of committing an act of terrorism on a Muslim
Oh my God.
community, and all of a sudden how he's found redemption, and it's about his story about his paradigm shift in life. It's not for me. I did not enjoy it at all. I'm sure that people can see merit in it, and people can have a redemption story, and people are capable of
Mhm.
change, but it just wasn't for me. But I'm going with the Elephant Whisperers. Not only do I think it feels like the favorite, but I think it's the best one on this list. I have seen four out of these five,
That's a
and
good pick.
it was easily the best one that I watched. It's a beautiful story. It's about a couple who find an orphan elephant, and they basically raise him and take care of him, and you just kind of experience and live with them. And they filmed it over like 5 years, and so you get a pretty good representation of what their relationship was like with this orphan elephant in India. It was a really beautiful story. By the end of it, it was kind of heartbreaking as well. I mean, it was great to watch. I actively enjoy watching it. It's on Netflix right now if you want to check it out. But I'm gonna pick The Elephant Whisperers in this category. Let's move on. Best documentary feature in this category we have All That Breathes, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, Fire of Love, A House Made of Splinters, and Navalny. I've seen none of these, although I have started and watched maybe about 20 or 30 minutes of Fire of Love. It's on Hulu right now. I don't think any of these other ones are available for streaming to watch. And so that's why I haven't gotten a chance to check these out. And so this is a similar category with live action short film. I'm just paying attention to what's got momentum right now. And I think Navalny seems like the one that's going to walk away with the win. It is something that I do want to check out. It's about the story of a man who was poisoned and how he, was able to sort of recover from this poisoning. It's like a government conspiracy behind it. It sounds super fascinating,
Mhm.
something that I definitely want to check out, but just haven't gotten the opportunity to see it. But that feels like the one that's going to walk away with the trophy that night.
Yeah, that's what I also have in Navalny. It's funny because I'm literally in the middle of Fire Love right now. I have like 20 minutes left. It's actually on Disney Plus. That's where I'm watching it. And I actually think it's great. But again, because the energy seems to be going to Navalny, man. I think it won the BAFTA or it
I
won
think so,
something
yeah.
else. It won something else too. But yeah, that's where the energy is, man. So that's what I picked. I think, and it sounds like it's like unanimous too. It's not one of those ones that's just like losing here and there. It's like, no, this is the best one. So one, I can't wait to check it out because the story, like you said, sounds crazy to me and very interesting. But also, yep, that's where it seems to be at right now.
Certainly. Let's move on to Best International Feature Film. In this category, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Argentina 1985, Close, EO, and The Quiet Girl. What do you have in this category?
Currently, all quiet on the Western Front, man. It's too on fire to think otherwise. I will just have to add, I still can't believe RR isn't here. It like blows my mind. But
They didn't submit
it
it for some reason. Apparently, I don't know
so
why
weird.
they didn't want to have it in contention, but it wasn't
It
even
should have
submitted.
been. It should have been, man. It doesn't make no sense to, yeah, just to not be in this category. But yeah, man, I will say I've heard of all five of these and still have only seen All Quiet on the Western Front. But I'm still going with All Quiet on the Western Front. Personal favorite, yes, but also the energy of other award shows.
Yeah, this is another category. I don't think it's close. I think All Quiet on the Western Front is the clear winner. Because it may not win Best Picture, but this is sort of its picture version, the closest that it might get to winning that award. So I think it's a clear winner in this category. Let's move on. Best animated short film. So in this category, we have The Boy, The Mole, The Fox, and the Horse, The Flying Sailor, Ice Merchants, My Year of Dicks, and An Ostrich Told Me the World is Fake, and I think I believe it. Crazy creative titles there, but in this category, all some very interesting films. I've seen four out of these five. The only one I have not seen is An Ostrich Told Me the World is Fake, and I think I believe it, but I've seen the other four. And I think I'm going to go with The Boy, The Mole, The Fox, and the Horse as the winner of this category. It's actually really, really enjoyable. It has Idris Elba as one of the voice actors. It's really just about these different, it's literally about a boy, a mole, a fox, and a horse. They just kind of find their way amongst each other. They go on this journey looking for this boy's home. It's really heartwarming. It's a very emotional story. And I think that this is leading with some momentum. I believe this won the BAFTA for best British short animation as well, and so it kind of has a lot behind it there. But it's also just, again, as you know said with some other categories, a personal favorite. It was the one that I enjoyed the most out of watching all these.
My Year of Dicks is crazy. Just the title is crazy. I have not seen it. In fact, I've only seen The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. That's definitely what I'm picking to win as well. Like you said, it is enjoyable. Also, the title An Ostrich Told Me the World is Fake, and I think I believe it, is also a crazy title. I have to add that too. Some crazy titles in these shorts, man. But yeah, I'm going with The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse as well. I think Idris Elba is about to pick up an Oscar here, man.
Which is wonderful. I love that for him. He definitely deserves it. Let's move on to Best Animated Feature Film. Here we have Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red. What do you have walking away? Best Animated Feature Film.
Man, it's Pinocchio and it's not close. This is one of those categories where, like, yes, you could have another favorite that's not Pinocchio, but the message behind what Guillermo del Toro is doing behind Pinocchio is a bigger service to the Academy and looks more attractive to the Academy to pick than anything else. Not to take anything away from it at all, but it's something about the craftsmanship in the commentary that goes in not only with the story but with the way that Pinocchio was made that's going to get it the W. Because you know me, man, I think Marcel is crazy. I think it's a very good movie, one of my favorites of last year, but what Pinocchio is doing and trying to do is going to get them the Academy Award.
I think when you look at the Vegas betting odds, this might be the widest spread in terms of a favorite. Like it would be foolish to bet against this particular movie, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. It's gonna win. That is pretty much a shoo-in unless something just ridiculous happens. My personal favorite on this list, I just rewatched it last night, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. It's a crazy movie, y'all. I think you have to watch Puss in Boots if you haven't seen it. It's going to be available on streaming in like 10 days or maybe even shorter than that, like in 5 days, I think. But ultimately, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, it's still a great and fantastic movie, and he has lineage and legacy within his body, and he's a champion of animation too, and he's done everything that he's needed to do up until this point to make sure that he's the clear favorite. He's been at every award show, has been doing every interview, shaking every hand. I mean, he's really a steward of the form and the medium of animation, which is, it's a part of it. You know, a lot of this is politicking. It's not always about what the best film is. A lot of it's like, how many people are you going to go see? How many interviews are you going to do? How many luncheons are you going to go to? How much money are you going to spend on the campaign? That all aids into the story of Pinocchio, but I think it's still a deserving film to win. Let's move on. Next category is Best Original Screenplay. So here we have The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. And so this one I think is actually a particularly tight category. It feels like there's a favorite, which I went with, but I don't know, man. You could still go kind of in a multitude of directions. My second pick, my runner up, is The Banshees of Inisherin, but I'm going with Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's my pick. I actually think that they will walk away with this award. I do still contend that The Banshees of Inisherin is personally, for me, the best written movie of 2022, but I just think that the momentum is going with Everything Everywhere All at Once in terms of just an original story that nobody's seen. Nobody has really experienced anything like this. I think that they have a lot behind them in that respect. So that's the one that I'm picking in this one.
Yeah, part of the reason I didn't give them editing is because I gave them original screenplay. I think this is one of those films. It's so weird and wacky for the Academy that I can't see them giving it a lot of these smaller awards and then original screenplay. So I went ahead and gave Everything Everywhere All at Once a best original screenplay here. Something I was eyeing, as much as I agree that Banshees of Inisherin is one of the best written movies of last year, I was still eyeing Tar too. Tar is nuts. And I think to me it makes it a three-way race in that way, where Everything Everywhere All at Once is the one, Banshees the two, and Tar the three. In which way, if Tar won, I still would not be surprised. What I will say is I'm afraid if Everything Everywhere All at Once doesn't win here, I'm afraid for the rest of the legs and the rest of the show if it doesn't win here. I really am. So we'll have to see there.
Yeah, if it does not win here, it might be a bad sign. It might
it's a
start.
bad sign.
It'll start to spell some doom and gloom because these writing categories typically do go hand in hand with some of the other big ones that we'll see. Let's move on to Best Adapted Screenplay. So in this category, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, Living, Top Gun Maverick, and Women Talking. Who did you pick in this category?
Man, I'm going Women Talking. I actually don't think this might be one of the ones where like it looks close somewhere, but to me, I don't think it's close. I think Women Talking. I think Sarah Polley gets it, and I think it's simple as that, man. It's just one of those screen. It's really good. It's really polished, and it's doing a screenplay work. All of these other things I think are really shiny compared to Women Talking too, and I think Women Talking also just appeals to the Academy. So I'm going Women Talking.
I too am picking Women Talking in this category. It is based on a novel. They came out a few years ago. This movie is literally some of the best actresses in the world just talking for 2 hours, and it's fascinating and it's never boring. And you're like, wow, this is a revelation. I would recommend this movie if you have the stomach for it, because it is dealing with some difficult subject matter. We talked about it at the end of the year last year, but it's an incredible script. It's amazing what Sarah Polley is doing, and I do think that it's out of these particular nominations, it's probably the best. I love Rian Johnson and what he did with Glass Onion. It's amazing to see him just pick up Oscar noms, like ever since he got away from Lucasfilm and Star Wars. Like, Rian Johnson is just living his best fucking life, and gonna be talking about Poker Face soon because there's some crazy shit that happens in that show that mirrors real life. But anyway, Women Talking, I mean, it's a real achievement what they did there. I think it's definitely deserving of some sort of acknowledgement in terms of a win here. So I also have it picking up Best Adapted Screenplay. Let's move on. Best Supporting Actress. In this category, we have Angela Bassett for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Hong Chow for The Whale, Carrie Condon for The Banshees of Inisherin, Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Stephanie Hsu also for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, this category about a month ago felt like a shoe-in. Now, not so much. Things are a little bit all over the place. It's kind of crazy what the landscape has shown us over the past couple of weeks. That being said, I'm still going with Angela Bassett. I still want the queen to win. I'm going with my heart on this one, even if it goes against maybe what popular opinion is saying or what the trends are saying, because Jamie Lee Curtis definitely just won the same award at the Screen Actors Guild Awards. Not always, but typically we see some symmetry and some trends occur there between that award show and the Academy Awards. But there have definitely been upsets in recent years too. Cannot forget, just a couple of years ago, Chadwick Boseman posthumously won for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom at the Screen Actors Guild Award, only to then be upset by Anthony Hopkins at the Academy Awards, which was, a big fumble in the placement of that award in that particular show. It was a really bad Oscars that year. It was just COVID. It was terrible times. But I still think Angela Bassett has a great shot to walk away with this particular award. I think that that she'll be crowned her moment that she's been working for the past like 30 plus years, with her stellar career. And so hopefully she walks away with it. But this is a loaded category to be honest. There's some amazing performances here by everybody involved. Carrie Condon cannot be slept on. That's a surprise pick as well, I think. I think she has a great shot, but I'm gonna go with Angela Bassett.
Yeah, I think Carrie Condon is definitely the runner-up here in terms of course, you said Jamie Lee Curtis just won and things, but I think if there's a surprise, I think it would be Carrie Condon, but absolutely, most definitely go with Angela Bassett in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. She has a story outside of just this movie, I think, which is important to this. Almost like Leo Revenant, right? Where it was like, you have a story kind of outside of this, or people rooting for you outside of this for other reasons. And I think Angela Bassett fits that same bill in some form or fashion. There's another reason I think it's going to win. I think because of the backlash between no mention of Daniel Deadwyler and Till and no mention of the Woman King at all, she cannot lose. I think Angela Bassett now has plot armor as well when it comes to this. If she doesn't, Lord help the Academy. But I right now, I have to say Angela Bassett is going to win this.
I don't know about plot armor because they will intentionally do some shit to fuck some stuff up and be like, well, you thought that it was gonna go this way, but I see what you're saying though. There's definitely a lot behind this particular category because of those
Hmm.
omission of those performances. They would have been in Best Actress, but still, just generally like black women being omitted from many of these categories. Of course,
Exactly.
that all tells that story. But it's gonna. I think it's gonna be tight. I don't think that this is like a surefire win for really anybody. Whoever does walk away with it, it'll probably be closer than we'll ever really know. Let's move
Hmm.
on to Best Supporting Actor. In this category, we have Brendan Gleeson for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway, Judd Hirsch for The Fablemans, Barry Keoghan for The Banshees of Inisherin, and Ki Hee Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Who do you have walking away? Best Supporting Actor.
It's Keys, man. It's Ki Hu Kwan's to win. I mean, this is another one of those ones where all the award shows are showing them. Everybody's pretty much showing that Ki Hee Kwan is his to win. Between the story, between the other award shows, it's his, man. I think he's going to take it.
Yeah, this is also another category that I think has like the widest spread on the betting odds.
Hmm.
Like there's just it doesn't make sense to vote against him. What we should also mention too that's kind of unspoken about, he's won damn near everything that he's been nominated for in this season. The fact that this guy gets up and constantly has to give speeches that all feel distinct and different from each other, because you can't get up there and say the same thing every single time. And if you
Hmm.
do, that kind of shows like, well, maybe there's like a little bit of a lack of preparation. But you also like you don't know if you're going to win everything. You don't know if you're going to win an Oscar or a Screen Actors Guild. So, like, if you get a moment to shine at the Golden Globes 2 months ago, you
Hmm.
probably want to say everything you want to say at that particular moment and not like leave anything for later. But he's been able to spin it and change it and say something different every single time. He's been giving the best speeches out of anybody that's won anything this award season. Like, every time he makes me want to shed a tear. His story is incredible. His story is just, it's unlike
Hmm.
anything else. We talk about comeback stories like between him and Brendan Fraser, and they both like worked together on a movie all the way, back in 1991, Encino Man. Like it's just so much behind
Yep.
Ki Hee Kwan right now. Like it would be a feat if somebody were to upset him in this category. I don't see it happening. But that being said, let's move on. Best Actress, aka probably the most difficult category to pick at this particular point because it's so close. But here we have Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Andrea Riseborough for To Leslie, Michelle Williams for The Fablemans, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Y'all, I have been racking my brain and going back and forth on this for so long now.
Yeah.
It's really tough to pick in this category. It's clearly, I think, a two-way race between Cate Blanchett for Tar and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. They both have been
Hmm.
just picking up trophies at every single award show up until this point. They both have incredible stories, lineage in Hollywood history. Of course, Michelle Yeoh is doing so many things for the first time ever that we've not seen out of the Asian community in Hollywood. Cate Blanchett is royalty and has won this numerous times over. And not only that, like they both kind of gave the best performances of the year. Like if we're just being honest about it, like they're deserving to be up
Yep.
here as the front runners. Ultimately, I'm gonna go with Michelle Yeoh. I'm gonna go with Michelle Yeoh as the winner here.
Mm.
I would not have said that even 3 days ago. I think that there is a good chance that she can win here because she has not lost anywhere except the BAFTAs, which notoriously leans heavily British. Cate Blanchett being from Australia, sort of British adjacent. I don't want to disrespect Australians. Don't kill me. But international flavor. I think that they typically lean towards those movies. And Michelle Yeoh has not lost anywhere. She's pretty much won everything up until this point. And
Hmm.
I think that narrowly she'll probably pull it out and ultimately kind of walk away with it. But just so deserving if she does win it. And Cate Blanchett too. Like if she wins it, I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised either way. That's really the
Hmm.
bottom line to it all. Like either one of these women win, I'm not gonna be like super shocked. But if I have to just like place my bets right now, I'm gonna go with Michelle.
Wow. As much as I want Michelle to win, really, really want her to win, I just see Cate Blanchett taking it. Part of it is I don't think Tar would get much the rest of the night. And I don't think they'll load up everything everywhere all at once enough for them to give it to Michelle. In this night in particular. I think they'll also note that she's won all those other things. They'll be like, she doesn't need this one, especially if they win for something else here at the Oscars. So I don't see them giving it to Michelle. We'll have to see what happens there, but I have Kate Blanchett, man, for Tar. I really do. Like you said, I would not be surprised either way. It's literally the one and the two. The other three in the in between are like, to me, are big surprises. Like to me, it's like one, two, and then a gap. To me,
A
and
big fucking gap.
pretty big gap at that. And so yeah, I won't be surprised either way. But I'm liking it, Kate Blanchett right now. I think.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we walked into Vegas tomorrow, you can't be mad at either one of us for picking those two. It's really a toss up. It's an incredibly tight race, and I'm super excited to see the outcome. Let's move on to Best Actor in this category. We have Austin Butler for Elvis, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Paul Mescal for Aftersun, and Bill Nighy for Living. This is also very, very difficult category to pick. Kind of anybody's race, in particular amongst the top three, who would notably be Austin Butler, Colin Farrell, and Brendan Fraser. But who are you ultimately going with in this category?
Man, I'm going with Brendan Fraser still. I'm riding with my boy till the wheels fall off, man. I really am. It's scary because of all these other award shows. It really is scary. It's any man's game. I got to go with Brendan Fraser, man. I think again, I think he has the story too. I think he has. It's just everything for me that says Brendan Fraser. This is his. I also still think it's my favorite performance as well. On top of that, this is like not only the landscape thing, but a favorite thing. I think when it comes out of these five. But yeah, I think if they give it to, I think this is a 3-man race between Austin Butler, Colin Farrell, and Brendan Fraser. And I think it's pretty close to even, but I'm gonna ride with Brendan Fraser, man.
So I'm going in a different direction. I am picking Austin Butler for Elvis, which God, I could not have predicted that coming into this award season, but just really, really thinking about this is the one that I've spent just so much time just agonizing over because Brendan Fraser's performance in The Whale is also my personal favorite. I just feel like there's going to be at least one award this night where I'm like, fuck y'all. Why did y'all do that? It's always at least one where you're like, oh, get that shit out of here.
Yeah.
And I feel like it might happen in this one only because, and look, I like Austin Butler and Elvis. He's the best part of that movie. Don't get it twisted at all. He's incredible. And I think he has a bright career ahead of him. But I've noticed that the Academy just loves these music icons. They love these self-destructive stories, seeing the torment that some of these people go through. It's giving Rami Malek from a few years ago with Bohemian Rhapsody. It's giving Renee Zellweger with Judy a few years ago. It's feeling like that where it's like at the top of the award season, oh no, it's going to be Brendan Fraser. He's the clear runaway. And he obviously still has a lot of momentum just picking up the Screen Actors Guild Award. But I think we're going to emerge with a brand new star in Hollywood in Austin Butler. They are going to crown him as one of the next guys up. And there's just so much. And he's been doing everything. He's been doing every single thing. Covers, luncheons, shoots, interviews, hot ones, you fucking name it. He's been there doing it.
He's there.
I think he has done all the political quote unquote work that you need to do to make sure that everybody sees your movie and feels a certain way about you. And we can't forget to mention it's fucking Elvis Presley. Who doesn't know that man? He's one of the most recognizable figures in human history. And so there's just a lot there. That's why I'm picking him. Not personally a favorite. Again, I do think that the performance is great, but I like Brendan Fraser more. But just taking all that in consideration, that's why I'm going with Austin Butler. But we'll have to see. That's going to be another nail biter once that award is announced on the show. Let's move on. Final two categories. First, we have Best Director. Here we have Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin, The Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans, Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. In this category, a couple months ago, I thought it would have been maybe a little bit of a tighter race. It feels like the Daniels are going to win this. This is who I have, coming out winning Best Director. I think the Daniels are actually going to walk away with this one. They did just win the DGA award.
They're winning a lot.
They're winning a lot of stuff. The Producer Guild's awards they won there. I'd kind of be shocked if they didn't win. I mean, the only other person that I would really consider putting ahead of them is probably, well, maybe two actually. One I was going to say Martin McDonagh, but Steven Spielberg, you can't ever go wrong with voting for him too, right? He's historical and a legend. But I think Martin McDonagh would have been like the close runner up. But I do think it's going to be the Daniels ultimately at the end of the day.
Yeah, no surprise coming from me that I also think it's the Daniels here, man. Just it's so great. It feels so good to see them winning all these other award shows. Because after I don't know, it's something about this movie, man. It's crazy. I will say again, this is the Academy we're talking about, not those other award shows. So what makes me afraid for Everything Everywhere All at Once, the Daniels, the movie in general, is that older audience of the Academy who might not like this movie. That scares me to this day because if you ask somebody on the street who's our age, do you like Everything Everywhere All at Once? I say 90% will say yes. But when you get to the older crowd, bro, ask somebody like 48 plus or something weird like that, the percentage is going to go down quite a bit about people who like that movie, and that scares me. And I of course I still have Daniels as a pick, but hopefully, but Steven Spielberg is still kind of knocking on the door of. I can't be like the most surprised person in the world if they're
You
like,
really can't. Yeah.
Steven gets the award. You know what
It's
I'm
his
saying?
life story. You know,
It's his life story. And what he means to movies in general is something completely different than, not to degrade any of these people, Mark McDonald, Todd Field, Ruben, all great. But what Steven Spielberg means to these movies is something completely different than all of these people. And so I'm just throwing it out there. Of course, I think it's the Daniels, but the Academy is the Academy, and the Academy going to Academy. And Steven Spielberg is not out of this thing, nor is Martin McDonald. So I had to throw that out there.
I think if Steven Spielberg wins, he should get on stage and give his award to Joseph Kosinski for Top Gun Maverick. He just literally said, like, yeah, Tom, you just saved movies with Top Gun Maverick. So he should just like give it up and just say, like, yeah, Top Gun, like, y'all take it. I have two of these already. Like, I already won this. But yeah, no, it's you know, it feels like the Daniels, but you can never just be so sure. To your point as well, like, ask somebody 50 plus to explain what Everything Everywhere All at Once is about. Hey, what is this movie even about? They'll look at you like, and you start to like just try to explain to them like the premise of it. They're gonna be like, what? What? It's I'm not watching it. Oh, what's The Fabelmans about? It's about Steven Spielberg. It's the real life story of him becoming a director. Oh, perfect. I'll check that out. So that is scary. Very much it's very much at play. Cannot remove that out of consideration. But last and certainly not least, of course, is Best Picture, the biggest award of the night. In this category, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. Who do you have walking away? Biggest award of the night, Best Picture. Who's going to win all the marbles?
Man, I'm going director and picture together, man. I have Everything Everywhere All at Once. We know that's usually a trend. Best director, best picture. It's not guaranteed. But again, with the energy of Everything Everywhere All at Once, the things that it's winning, the campaigns behind it, the Ke Huy Quan probably winning for the night, the getting best screenplay. I'm feeling it, man. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think it's going to walk away with it. I will still add, it's the Academy going to Academy. You never know sometimes. I think Fabelmans is still knocking on the door. I think Tar is still knocking on the door. I think Elvis is still knocking on the door. I think Banshees is absolutely and most definitely still somewhat knocking on that door.
I think that's the runner-up for sure.
For sure. Yeah. I think it's number 2 for sure knocking on that door. But I'm going with Everything Everywhere All at Once as my final pick. I will say, if Banshees won, I'd be still a little disappointed. Everything didn't win. I would, but I still wouldn't be surprised, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. And I mean, this is the one category it's important to note, in case you don't know, that every Academy member gets to vote on. Unlike the other categories in which that respective branch votes on that respective award, the actors vote for the actors, the screenwriters vote for the screenwriters, directors, so on and so forth. But everybody gets a hand at Best Picture. And so the preferential ballot and just how the whole math breaks out can create some weird, crazy shit. You know, so a movie that might typically fall in the middle for most people when they're ranking their lists could ultimately emerge as the winner. You know, there's just some weird stuff that could occur. I do think Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to win. That is my pick as well. But if anything else won, I wouldn't be mad, except Elvis. If they said, and the Oscar goes to Elvis, I'd be fucking pissed. But everything else, I wouldn't actually be that mad at it. I think that this is an incredibly balanced array of
Yeah,
Best Picture nominees. It's a really representative list of just
it's
everything.
fire. It's fire.
It's a great collection of Best Picture nominees. I really think so.
Mm-hmm.
But Everything Everywhere All at Once, I mean, by all accounts, for many people, it's the best movie of the year, and deservedly so. And I think that this is the one that, if nothing else, it should win this one. It really should, and I hope
Mm-hmm.
it does. I really hope that they get that moment for themselves, and I would not be mad, of course, at that, because it is, one of my favorite movies of last year, and just an achievement across the board. But we'll have to see, folks. Those are all of our picks, all of our final predictions for the 95th Academy Awards. We will definitely be watching the ceremony this coming Sunday, and we'll be back next week to give our reactions and break down everything that happens at the latest edition of the Oscars. So be sure to stay tuned for that.